What is up? Welcome back to another video. This is the Pixel 9 Pro. And as you can see, I'm in Mexico right now, and I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to talk about the cameras on this phone.
You see why it's dangerous?
We're actually going to bring back a tradition here on the channel. Anyone who's been here for a while might know that I normally do a Pixel giveaway once a year, so we're going to do that on this video. And you can stay tuned to later in the video for the details.
Alright, so let's kick off with a few of the differences quickly between the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 9 Pro when it comes to the cameras. So on the Pixel 9, you've got a 50 megapixel rear-facing camera, 48 megapixel ultra-wide, and a 10.5 megapixel selfie camera. You can also shoot video up to 4K in 24, 30 frames a second, and 60 frames per second. So the good news is on the Pixel 9 Pro, the things are mostly the same, apart from, of course, you get an addition of a 5x telephoto camera. That's a 48 megapixel camera. The selfie camera is upgraded to a 42 megapixel camera, and you get access to 8K video, which is AI upscaled via Video Boost. Just before you guys shout at me in the comments, my particular device is, of course, actually the Pixel 9 Pro XL, but there's no camera differences between the XL and the Pro model. It is literally exactly the same camera spec, of course, just a larger device and bigger battery capacity. This is, of course, a flagship device, and with that comes flagship camera performance, particularly in the main rear-facing lens. This lens has been an absolute staple for many years. It competes really well with the other main rear-facing lenses on the market. You're able to achieve really nice shallow depth of field on close-up objects, which for the sensor size, I have to admit, is pretty impressive. The pixel look is, of course, there, so you have to kind of like that fairly high contrasty style. By standard, the device will pixel bin down to 12 megapixel images from that 50 megapixel sensor. On the whole, this is kind of great. You're getting the best of both worlds. The amount of detail in the images is really strong, and of course, you can switch over to a 48 megapixel image if you so want to. I think it's really worth talking about something which I think is probably the best it's ever been on the Pixel line right now, and it's consistency between lenses. I talk about this a lot, but I hate to have any differences between, or any really noticeable differences between that 1x or the ultra wide through to the telephoto. I hate it when you can just see a drastic quality difference between those lenses, and I think this is probably the closest this has ever been right now. The telephoto is actually really good, even in like a lower light environment like this. Obviously, there's lots of light inside the Lucha Libre stadium. By the way, if anyone is coming to Mexico City, like 100% go to this. It was so fun. Of course, the main 1x is going to be the best in like an actual low light situation because the sensor size is just that much bigger. And we'll talk about low light a little bit later. But like I said, it's just really nice to see a really good standard of lens across all of the lenses. You're not going to be disappointed with any of these, I don't think.
So I'm in Teotihuacan. I probably completely butchered that, but I think first of all, an absolutely incredible place, an archaeological site just out of Mexico City, but a really good way, I think, to show off the front-facing camera and also the microphone. So this is a video we're shooting in 4K, 30 frames per second. You get a 1x or 1.4x, obviously much tighter. I'd much prefer on the front-facing camera in photos the fact that you can go wider to closer. This is a little bit tight on the 1.4x, but the 1x is absolutely fine. And the audio, absolutely fantastic. It's pretty overcast right now, but like from what I can tell, the kind of smoothing on the face is a little bit better than previous Pixel generations, but it is still definitely there. Like the front-facing camera is a little bit processed on this camera in video mode. As a comparison, here is audio enhancement, like the speech enhancement tool off. So hopefully this will give you an idea on how it sounds without that option on. And here is the speech enhancement back on. So hopefully that will give you an idea of comparison. I actually really like the audio on the Pixel 9 Pro.
Just talking a little bit more about that face smoothing stuff. So you can, first of all, in the selfie settings, actually select a retouch. So this is with face retouching off, even though there is obviously processing happening to the image. Then this is face smoothing on, just to give you an example. And this will kind of just end up looking a little bit like Photoshop, just airbrushed, that type of thing. Google's not alone in this. There definitely are kind of facial algorithms going on, if that makes sense. This this image here is actually a super interesting way to show you this. So basically, I realized that I snapped this photo, and obviously this is a piece of street art, right? But actually I realized that because it's a fairly neutral image, I can actually swap between the raw and the processed image here, and you can actually see the facial retouching going on in Google's processed image on this side. There's just none of that processing present in the raw. Something which I don't think is talked about enough is Google's implementation of the Pro mode. So first of all, you have this kind of set, obviously normal settings section, and you can go between your general settings and your Pro settings. Over here, this is where you change the resolution between a 12 megapixel shot and a 50 megapixel shot, and you can also change between JPEG only or JPEG plus RAW, which is the setting which I always use on the phone because then you get both files. But then you can tap this button up here, and this will actually take you into the Pro kind of like manual control setting, and it's definitely the easiest integration of manual settings that I've pretty much ever seen. Obviously, different camera manufacturers have different ways of doing this. You can control all of your key settings like ISO, shutter speed, or even things like white balance, which is really, really useful. But you also get things like shadow control. This is a way, of course, of combating the kind of really contrasty high dynamic range way of shooting on the Pixel. I just wish that you could almost like permanently customize this, if that makes sense, a little bit like Apple's photographic styles, but remains to be seen. Just very briefly, I haven't done a best settings video on the Pixel, but if you are wanting to get the best images possible out of your Pixel, still shooting RAW is of course the way to do it. So here is a RAW file, and with some very, very fast edits, like literally just adding a bit of contrast, lowering down the shadows, which is definitely a way that Google likes to kind of HDR their images. Their shadows are often always very lifted, and then just also reducing the amount of digital sharpness in the image. That is just a very, very fast way to get a better looking Pixel image, in my opinion, than you would get straight out of the JPEGs. So something new which Google has added this year is a feature called Add Me. Google always tries to kind of push the boat on at least one feature a year, I find, so it's something a bit more kind of fun or a little bit more creative. We saw that was like motion modes, for example, and Add Me is actually a really interesting feature. So basically what this does is allows you to take a shot. If you are unable to have anyone else help take the photo of you, it allows you to insert yourself into a group photo or couple photo or something like that, just by basically handing the phone over to whoever is shooting the photo, and it will kind of like comp you into that photograph. And it's actually really, really good. It's actually one of my kind of more favorite features that Google's added in recent times, just because it kind of makes life easier. It's quite fun. It's certainly a little bit gimmicky. I don't think you're going to be using this all the time, but some people are going to love this. It is actually decently accurate, apart from with this example where I ended up looking like a giant compared to my girlfriend. Okay, so let's address low light, and of course the story is going to be very similar to other flagship devices, other current smartphones. The main rear-facing camera definitely performs best. Things are going to look not quite as good when you go to the ultra-wide or the front-facing camera, or even the telephoto are all going to be a little bit worse than the main. My biggest complaint really with the night mode still is that whilst the performance is strictly speaking good, it's kind of the same thing which I've talked about a lot on the Pixel line, but it's just the dynamic range is so extreme. Night photos end up looking not like night photos, like, because especially when there's any artificial light, like these photos here, for example, it just wants to crank all the exposures and essentially get it looking like daylight. It's just really not my kind of preference for these style of photos. Although this almost is intentional at this point by Google. It's definitely a look that they're going for. They love to kind of allow maximum dynamic range in their daylight photos, and it certainly seems like they're wanting to do that in low light as well. Okay, so I'm actually going to end this video on a little bit of a rant, because I want to talk about Video Boost. If you don't want to hear me rant about Video Boost and you're just interested in the giveaway section of this video, you can go to this timestamp, and that's where I'll talk about the giveaway. But I want to talk about Video Boost because I was talking about low light, obviously, as I've mentioned, and Video Boost is, if you don't know, a way of basically you film and record on the Pixel. It's actually accessible on the Pixel 8 line of phones as well as the Pixel 9 line of phones, and there's a couple of different ways of using it. Most notably is it improves low light performance. It also does things like smooths lens transitions, smooths out shakes and stabilization in your videos, and the thing which I am not happy with is I don't like the implementation at all, actually. I don't like the way that it takes a long time to actually create the video in the first place. So you shoot a video using Video Boost, the actual video that you get is actually lower quality, or at least it is when you're trying to access the files, than it would be otherwise. So actually, it kind of is, for me, a bit of an issue, because why I want to use a smartphone in the first place is to just get fast, reactive video. I'm not trying to get the best video possible. I'm trying to essentially get the best video possible in the fastest time that I can, which is why, for instance, like, well, the iPhone is fantastic when it comes to video, because it's so good in normal modes, but then I can also shoot an Apple ProRes log when I'm wanting something a bit more high production. So that type of thing aside, I would normally talk about Video Boost, except after filming a whole bunch of videos for this review, I actually ended up manually uploading them to the cloud, like manually selecting them for backup, because when I shoot a review like this, I don't back up every single thing. I don't want everything in my Google Photos. So I use the proper official way to back up these videos individually to Google Photos. And I ran into some issues. I was getting, basically, the video boosted file was extremely low resolution. And I ran into this thread on Reddit. There is like a big issue with Video Boost right now, that when you manually upload videos, which is, again, a really regular thing to do. Like, lots of people don't actually back their entire kind of storage up to Google Photos. Video Boost is essentially like incompatible with this right now, and this is definitely a bug. It's not like to be designed this way. So this is where I kind of am opting out of this feature. There will absolutely be people that love Video Boost, but for me right now, the best way to shoot video on the Pixel is actually to just shoot standard, shoot in either the 4K 60, 4K 30, because the video is really good, as if you've seen in this video. If you are shooting particular low light content and you are really worried about the low light performance, who knows, maybe you want to shoot Video Boost. But I think one of the biggest ways they could fix this is actually allow you to manually select Video Boost after you have created a video. That for me would fix all of these problems, and I don't know why the implementation for Video Boost is quite so weird. So on a slightly more positive note, let's talk about the giveaway for this video. So, if this video reaches 5,000 likes, I've done this before and you guys absolutely smashed it. By the time this reaches 5,000 likes, if the Pixel 9a is out, I will give one of those away, or otherwise it will be a Pixel 8a. Literally all you need to do to enter, just drop a comment in the comment section down below. Just one comment per person, and I will choose one of those comments to win a Pixel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.